Live from Lawson State Community College, WVTM 13 News presents coverage of the Birmingham mayor's race, the candidates, the issues, the challenges facing the city and region. This is Commitment 2021, the Birmingham Mayoral Debate.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to WVTM 13's Birmingham Mayoral Debate 2021. I'm Lisa Crane. I'll be your moderator for the next hour. We are partnering tonight with V94.9 WATV live from Lawson State Community College. Tonight you're going to hear from 4 candidates hoping to take the city's top office for the next 4 years. Now allow me to introduce you to the candidates. We have former Mayor William Bell, current Mayor Randall Woodfin, Jefferson County Commissioner Lashunda Scales, and local businessman Chris Woods. Let's now meet the panel. We have WVTM 13 news anchor Guy Rawlings with us tonight, along with V94.9 midday host Dana Lady Wu Woodruff, and V94.9 think tank host Chris Coleman. The candidates have all agreed to the rules for tonight. We're going to start with questions directed to all of the candidates. They're going to have 45 seconds to respond. They'll have 60 seconds to respond when a question is directed to a specific candidate. Now, each candidate will also be permitted to ask one of their opponents a question. They're going to get 30 seconds to ask that question, 60 seconds for a response, and then 30 seconds for a rebuttal if they require one. Now, finally, candidates will be allowed an uninterrupted 60 seconds for closing statements at the end of this hour. We're going to begin right now. The first question is for all the candidates, and it comes from WVTM 13's Guy Rawlings. Guy?
Lisa, thanks. So COVID-19 is obviously something that affects all of us. Many cities and states are offering incentives for people to get vaccinated, and Alabama has one of the lowest rates in the country. Do you think Birmingham should use incentives to increase the vaccination rate, and where would that money come from?
Now, as determined by our draw, Mr. Woods, you'll answer first, and you have 45 seconds.
I believe coming together as one is my vision for Birmingham, and together we need to get together to put a plan to encourage all of our citizens to get vaccinated. This is real. This is not the flu. It is real, and people are dying from it. I have an old buddy roommate is dealing with it now, and it is real. So we need to press upon throughout our churches, throughout our schools, every outlet of the community. There need to be an outcry that this is serious. Let's make it happen. I would be for taking extreme measures for businesses. Make it mandatory. It is that serious. It's a pandemic that must be taken serious.
Mr. Bell, now to you. You have 45 seconds.
Well, Guy, I've had discussions with the head of our health department along with the deputy head of the department, and I indicated to them that whatever measures needs to be taken to educate people, cajole people, to force people to take the vaccine, it's in all of our best interests. It's my understanding that the federal government is now considering a plan whereby they will allocate funds so that municipalities and the health clinics can offer some type of incentive. Again, whatever it takes to get the individual to make that decision, to get the shot, I'm in favor of that.
Mayor Woodfin, same question to you, 45 seconds.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity tonight. And before I answer the question, I think it's important that I lay out what's going to happen here tonight based off last night's debate. You may hear some intentional disinformation, but I want to encourage you to please visit randallwoodfin.com to learn more about Vision 2025, as well as all the things we've done on behalf of the citizens over the last 44 months. Pertaining to the question at hand, the Delta variant is real. We are encouraged by our seniors and our elders and our older population whose vaccination rates have increased. But yes, we should offer some form of incentives from the American Rescue Plan dollars for our younger citizens to encourage them to be vaccinated as well.
Commissioner Scales, now to you, 45 seconds.
Thank you, and I thank everyone for tuning in tonight. This is going to be very exciting, and I do believe that most of our folk, even though we're struggling with vaccinations, I think that there is more education that needs to be had. I also believe that when we talk about funding, as the county commissioner who fought and make sure that we advocated for citizens of Birmingham to receive their vaccinations, I believe that we have American Rescue dollars that are available. We should take advantage of those opportunities. And where there is a mandate, I think that the general public would need to be educated on why we're doing it. So thank you.
Now we're going to move to 94.9's Dana Woodruff for our next question. It's for all the candidates.
Good evening. The Birmingham Police Department has 76 openings. Starting pay for officers is $7,000 to $10,000 below cities of comparable size. How do you make the city more attractive to recruit and retain officers?
And we're going to start with you, Mr. Bell. You have 45 seconds.
The biggest proponent for recruiting individuals to work for the Birmingham Police Department are other police officers. Right now, morale is down in the police department. We've got to find ways from a leadership standpoint to bring about more responsible leadership within the police department so that morale will be improved and we can start building trust in the community itself. By building that trust, you will get individuals to come forward and offer themselves to serve in the Birmingham Police Department. And I think that's the first step that we need to take to improve the overall morale of our department and improve the leadership within the department itself.
Mayor Woodfin, now to you, 45 seconds.
Thank you. The first thing we did when we came in office was assess all of our departments, including the Birmingham Police Department. One of the things we found was that morale was low back in 2017 and the beginning of 2018 due to the fact that simple things had been taken away, such as cost of living adjustment, their merit pay, as well as longevity pay, and that their pension had been ignored for years. And so, yes, can we increase our pay, and we are working on ways to do that? The answer is yes. But you have to do the simple things first, and we've done those things. We've increased our police officers' cost of living adjustment, their merit pay, and their longevity, and we've made their pension whole.
Commissioner Scales, now to you, 45 seconds.
We make our police department more attractive by first starting at the top. You cannot have a police chief that believes that the department that they came to is corrupt. You have to empower, you have to advance, and you have to make sure that officers know that this is the place that they should be proud to call home and, more importantly, to protect and to serve. The city of Birmingham has experienced more than triple-digit homicides for over 5.5 years. The reason why the morale is low is largely in part because we do not support our officers, and that comes in various forms. I look forward to being able to share that vision tonight because I believe those who protect and serve us should also have a right and accessibility to a good quality of life as well.
Mr. Woods, now to you, 45 seconds.
My vision is to unite us across the board, the police department, every facet of our community. And right now, if I was a young recruit on the outside looking in, what I see is a divided police department. The FOP just gave the mayor and the police chief a vote of no confidence. So would that make it attractive? What would make it attractive? As your next mayor, I will implement my 7-point crime plan, which number one step is to partner with the sheriff's department to make up for the lack of police officers. Unite us, give the policemen the tools, the necessary tools they need to do a good job and build a camaraderie and build trust back in the community.
Thank you very much. Next question comes from V94.9's Chris Coleman, and it's for all the candidates.
Good evening, everyone. This year, we've seen 5 children hurt in unsolved shootings. One child in particular, Major Turner, lost his life. A reward was set up for information in his murder. Other than taking guns off the street, is there really a solution to solving gun violence in Birmingham?
This time we'll start with Mayor Woodfin. You have 45 seconds.
Yes. Back in 2019, I declared gun violence a public health crisis in the city of Birmingham. But every time someone's shot, especially a child, I think about my own brother, I think about my own nephew who was killed by gun violence. And I think he's right. We cannot arrest our way out of gun violence in the city. And although we've taken over 5,000 illegal guns off the streets of Birmingham, what we said back in 2019 is that it had to be a holistic approach. In addition to enforcement efforts, we had to focus on prevention and reentry measures. And the long play is to continue to make investments in conflict resolution, especially for our youngest generation, by partnering with the school system to make sure they choose other options than picking up an actual gun.
Now to Commissioner Scales, 45 seconds.
I share with the previous story about having a relative. My niece was shot in the head and killed. Her case is still to this day a cold case. The way we change the narrative is, first of all, we have to be proactive. And such as programs like Crime Stoppers and community revitalization programs that was defunded by the current administration. We have to fund those programs because the only way we're going to save the lives of our children, we have to make people comfortable with being able to speak and to talk and speak up. We ask them to speak up, and we've got to do a better job as a city to make sure that we're protecting their interest.
Mr. Woods, 45 seconds to you.
Greatest crime prevention plan is education, and it would be one of my priorities to make sure that our young men and women are educated, that they are on a career path to try to avoid these circumstances from happening. I'm against 18, 21 and under having a gun. I mean, you should not have these guns. They should not be on the street. And part of our plan would be police deterrence against gun violence, against human trafficking, against drugs, and against gangs. We have to get aggressive in doing this, and talk is no more talk, but walking the walk and implement these rigorous measures to really go after this situation.
Mr. Bell, now to you, 45 seconds.
Chris, there's been a silence to the violence in the streets of Birmingham, out of City Hall. Measures have not been taken to reduce gun violence, only until maybe a couple of months ago that the city leadership decided to meet with ATF and other federal organizations to try to do something about crime. But for the last 3.5 years, nothing has been done. You have mothers and grandmothers who are weeping and mourning for the loss of their children. They've tried to reach out to the mayor. They've tried to reach out to City Hall to get answers. In some cases, they don't want answers. They just want to know that someone is there to listen to their complaints. 2 blocks down from my home, 2 young men were shot down in the street in front of one of them grandmother's house. They reached out to City Hall. No one responded. No one gave them the comfort to know that they're going to do everything they can to find out who the
Mr. Bell,
murderer
we're out of
was.
time. We need to move on now. Thank you very much, candidates. We have our next question coming from WVTM 13's Guy Rawlings.
The city of Denver is leading national efforts to establish programs that would provide reparations for African Americans. Do you see Birmingham getting involved in reparations, and where would that money come from?
This time we'll start with Commissioner Scales. You have 45 seconds.
Well, first of all, when we talk about reparations, we know that that is a federal mandate, and I would be interested wholeheartedly, being that this is a civil rights city, that we need to do more to make African Americans who have built this country to feel that they have a place to call home. When we speak of federal funding, that comes in the sense of what we're doing in our businesses, what we're doing in terms of our education. Yes, I do believe that reparations should be in every city across this nation, and it will begin in the civil rights city called Birmingham, Alabama.
Mr. Woodfin, now to you, 45 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. So reparations is definitely a topic of importance. And I appreciate the conversation we've had with our congressional representation in the form of Congresswoman Terry Sewell, who's advocating on our behalf in D.C. related to how to make Black Americans whole, not just in Birmingham, but across the entire nation. This is not a new conversation. But what's Birmingham's role in finding ways to invest in the Black community that's 74%? Well, one of the things we've done for our youngest generation is create the Birmingham Promise to make sure we create a path for their future by providing tuition-free scholarships, as well as an apprenticeship of being paid $15 an hour, as well as supporting our Black-owned businesses, not only with technical support, but lending capital resources as well to give them a start.
All right, let's go now to Mr. Woods.
You know, I see golden opportunity, guy, for the land bank. We have over 21,000 dilapidated properties just sitting there, and as long as the city is holding on to these properties, no property taxes are being collected. Once we could realize and get these properties off the books, and my vision is to bring our young millennials back and bring the entire city back together to revitalize our communities and use these properties to make that happen. Instead of excitement excitement in the community, and I believe that will make a major, major difference. And the upside of it is once the city get them off the books and they are earning revenue, we're looking at over $35 million projected in property taxes that's not being collected. But our free preschool is our foundational program that we will be doing for our 3-year-olds, free preschool, getting a early
We're out of time,
educational
Mr.
boost.
Woods. I'm sorry, we need to go down to Mr. Bell, 45 seconds.
The best reparation we can have for our community is investment in education, in particular the education system that we have responsibility for, the Birmingham Public School system. You don't take away $1.5 million to invest in a college program. You don't take that away from educating our kids from K through 12. You start the kids off with a handicap that they won't be in a position to take advantage of a college scholarship. We've got to invest each and every year in our educational program. As the mayor, I will make sure that the school system get not only the replacement funds that were taken away, but additional funds so that we can fund reading programs so that a child can read at the 3rd grade level by the time they're in the 3rd grade. That's the type of reparation that I'm for.
We're going to go to our next question now, and it comes from V94.9's Dana Woodruff.
New census data shows Huntsville is now Alabama's largest city, growing around 19% in the last decade. However, the population in Birmingham is shrinking, dropping by 5%. This impacts the city's revenue. As mayor, will you turn it around?
Mr. Woods, we'll start with you, 45 seconds.
Yes, we have to. We have to turn it around, and we bringing people together, people's voices would be heard, education and making our city safe. I mean, no one wants to be in an unsafe city, and people are leaving because of those two things. And as your mayor, it'd be no greater priority than the safety and education of our children. Well, with 90% of the crimes in Birmingham being committed by young men, 21 years old and younger, it's imperative that we put them on a career path early, starting in the middle school with the trade programs and helping these young men see themselves succeeding, leaving high school with 2 certifications, whether it be in welding, electronics, electricity, plumbing, and HVAC, whatever that is, whatever they see themselves doing is what we look.
We're out of time, Mr. Woods. I'm sorry, we got to go to Mr. Bell, 45 seconds.
In 2016 and 17, we were notified that Birmingham was on projection to have an increase of 10,000 residents. Also, going back to previous census, we always had the city to challenge the numbers, and we always found out that there were about a 10% drop-off in the number of people that they miscounted or didn't count at all. The current administration has not challenged those numbers. They have not requested a recount in our community, and we should do that because the Trump administration cut short the period of time in which they could go out and identify people who lived in the community. And we've got to work together to challenge those numbers to make sure that the numbers are accurate. But more importantly, we've got to invest in housing in our community. We've got to invest in education in our community so that people will want to come back here. We're at a
We're out of time. I'm sorry. Let's go now to Mayor Woodfin. You have 45 seconds.
Earlier, I told you all there would be disinformation tonight, and you've seen an example of that. The city of Birmingham did not take $1.5 million from the school and put it in a tuition program. The city of Birmingham partnered with Dr. Mark Sullivan, the former superintendent, to put $2 million over 5 years towards the apprenticeship program for those same high school students that can now leave high school early and receive credit hours while working and being paid while working. Related to the question at hand, the city of Birmingham will continue to be the economic engine, not just for this region, but for this state. And related to healthcare and technology and other sectors, we will continue to grow.
Commissioner Scales, now to you, 45 seconds.
Well, to me, the question is, are you going to turn it around as the mayor? And the answer is absolutely yes. That's the reason why I know how to get things done, because you have to work. And you have to also recognize the things that you're weak in. Birmingham right now, in terms of our Birmingham City Schools, we're forsaking to educate the masses for a program that's not initiated even through the Birmingham City School system. Even though it's called The Promise, the truth of the matter is, if you do not perform between kindergarten and 12th grade, you're not able to succeed. So as mayor of the city of Birmingham, we got to make Birmingham the place where you live, earn, and learn. Thank you.
Now we're coming to the point in our program where we're going to allow the candidates to ask one opponent a question. And as a reminder, you have 30 seconds to ask the question. There will be 60 seconds allowed for the answer. And we're going to start with Mr. Bell, who has a question for Mayor Woodfin.
In the Bible, Joseph warned the king to harvest in good times so that in the bad times they will be able to survive any droughts or famine. You've invested over $90 million in a stadium for the University of Alabama in Birmingham. And then yet this past summer, you laid off workers because you said the city did not have the revenue. Do you regret the funding of the stadium now in light of the fact that you're under a financial crisis in the city?
Mayor Woodfin, you have 60 seconds.
4 years ago, William Bell, Chris Woods, and myself stood on a stage similar to this, and we were all asked the question, would we support a new stadium? And my answer was yes. And I also said the city should not fully 100% fund it, and we're not going to talk about it forever because this has been a conversation for 40 years. It's a $180 million stadium. The city of Birmingham is only investing 50% of that funding. In addition to that, we did it because it was the right thing to do as it relates to investing in our tourism, investing in our convention space, legacy arena, and et cetera. And now with the funds we will generate from this new stadium, the city of Birmingham will be able to collect $9 million a year on a $3 million a year investment. I would say that's a good return, but the best return is for the citizens of Birmingham because that money, 100% of it, is going into a neighborhood revitalization fund to pave the streets that Mayor Bell ignored for years, to invest more in our land bank that Mayor Bell ignored for years, and to invest in healthy food options that Mayor Bell ignored for years.
Mr. Bell, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Mr. Bell created the Land Bank Authority. Mr. Bell had in 2012 a bond issue passed to pave roads, the very bond issue that is now not being utilized to pave all the roads in all of our communities. Mr. Bell has seen what investing in our communities can do. When you look at the Land Bank Authority as it was originally planned for, it was designed to bring wealth back to the community itself and not fund real estate scams for investors who are looking to profit through the Land Bank Authority itself.
Mr. Woods, you now may ask a question of Ms. Scales. You have 30 seconds to ask your question.
Commissioner Scales, your campaign slogan is that she works. As a city councilor, as a county commissioner, what would you say has been your greatest legacies?
Well, I would say, first of all, as a city council member, being a part of the council where I sponsored the stop or the moratorium that stopped the growth of payday and title loan businesses right here in the city of Birmingham that was taking advantage of our working poor. As a matter of fact, at this Lawson State Community College, fine college in our city, President Obama came as a result of the talks surrounding payday and title loans, and it was an honor to be able to work with my colleagues to pass that moratorium. Secondly, I would say as a commissioner, we have an unprecedented COVID-19 virus, and I was able to work with my colleagues so that we could provide rental, mortgage, utility assistance, and more than $26 million to make sure that our roads are safe in the county.
Mr. Wood, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
I don't have a rebuttal.
All right, let's move along now to Mayor Woodfin. Your campaign chose to ask former Mayor Bell a question. You have 30 seconds for that question.
Thank you. Mr. Bell, you've been in and around politics since 1979. This is your 8th time running for mayor. In the 7 years you were mayor, you chose to ignore our employees by not taking care of their pension. You chose to underinvest in our employees by not taking care of their longevity merit COLA, as well as not investing in the city's infrastructure, which you left it crumbling and in the mess that I inherited. Why should the voters choose you and go backwards?
60 seconds, Mr. Bell.
When I came into office in 2010, the city of Birmingham was in a $78 million deficit. We had less than 6 months to shore up the city's finances. We did that without laying off any employees. We had to make drastic changes in the way we funded our general fund operation budget. But as soon as we stabilized that budget, we were able to move forward and restore funding to many of the benefits that the employees had. We put together a plan that would, in fact, fund the pension plan. It was approved by the board itself. I was not able to implement that because an election came up and it was put to the side. But as your mayor, I will make sure that every employee is treated fairly and honestly. And I will not make up excuses as to why individuals was laid off by saying it was because of COVID, when in fact he was directed by the rating agencies out of New York to lay those employees off.
Mayor Woodfin, 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Mr. Bell, I was one of those employees for 7 plus years while you were the mayor. And I didn't receive a cost of living adjustment under your administration, along with other employees. And you kicked the pension down the road so many years, you don't pick it up your 7th year of office just because it's an election year.
All right, Commissioner Scales, your campaign chose to ask Chris Woods a question. You have 30 seconds to ask that question.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, we know that Mr. Woods has a business, contracting business. I would be interested in knowing, being that you are now a candidate for mayor, your company sued the city of Birmingham. I would want to know why, and how would you remove that stench from your name and your company as mayor?
60 seconds, Mr. Woods.
Well, that's the old wound, and we were wrongfully terminated from several contracts we had, contracts that we had earned as the lowest responsive bidder. And we went to court, and the jury and the judge agreed that we were wrongfully terminated. And my God, that was one of the most challenging moments of my life. And I'm running for mayor because I don't think any young man or woman should have to suffer and go through that. I was told if I didn't play the play in the corrupt schemes and culture around the city, that I could not participate. And we had hoped that would have changed after being successful in court, but it appears the same game is being played through the current administration. But we're going to keep working and keep fighting, and as mayor, we're going to remove that type of culture and make it an open-door policy where people from all walks of life can come in and get ahead and participate in city contracts.
Commissioner Scales, 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Actually, I didn't. He answered it. It was about to be a policy question. What would you change in terms of the policy? Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much, candidates. We're going to take a short break now. Straight ahead, we're going to have some specific questions for each candidate. So thanks so much for joining us, and stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Birmingham Mayoral Debate.
Welcome back, everyone, to WVTM 13 and V94.9's Birmingham Mayoral Debate. We have 4 candidates here with us this evening. Former Birmingham Mayor William Bell, incumbent Mayor Randall Woodfin, Jefferson County Commissioner Lashunda Scales, and businessman Chris Woods. Now, we want to remind you about the rules for the debate tonight. We're going to start with questions directed to all the candidates, which they're going to have 45 seconds to respond to. Then candidates will have 60 seconds to respond to questions directed specifically to them from our panel. At the end of this debate, each candidate will be allowed 60 seconds for a closing statement. So let me reintroduce you to our panel now. With us tonight, we have WVTM 13 News anchor Guy Rawlings, V94.9 midday host Dana Lady Wu Woodruff, and V94.9 Think Tank host Chris Coleman. Candidates, we're going to begin this round of questioning, starting with V94.9's Think Tank host Chris Coleman.
In 2020, we saw a new age of racial reckoning and unrest following the death of George Floyd. Last year, we saw hundreds in downtown Birmingham protest police brutality and Confederate monuments. Some people damaged property, even stealing from businesses. How would you handle protest of that nature should it happen again?
Mayor Woodfin, we'll start with you, 45 seconds.
Thank you for that question. You know, last year was tough for anyone that had a heart. In the wake and murder of George Floyd's death, we all felt something and wanted to do something. And there were protests for days across many American cities. And Birmingham was fortunate to only have one day of protests. And although that happened, the part that I liked the most was the next day and the week after of citizens coming together to help those small businesses pick that glass up, as well as support them and getting their business back open. And so around what happened, I think we have measures in place, not only from an enforcement standpoint, but to make sure we protect people's right to actually peacefully protest in the city.
Commissioner Scales, 45 seconds to you.
Thank you. First of all, last year to me was a black eye for the city of Birmingham, especially when you're talking about to remove a statute took so much more than what people know. As the county commissioner, our windows were busted out at Jefferson County, and unfortunately, I was told that the mayor told the police of Birmingham to stand down. This is not the way we're represented. And the next day, you're on Good Morning America when you should be representing the city's interest of being a peaceful, protesting kind of city. And I know that as mayor of the city of Birmingham, we will not tolerate any kind of defacing of memorials or anything else, because we know that the city of Birmingham is a beacon to the world, and we will remain as such.
Mayor Woodfin, would you like to rebuttal?
Thank you for that. What Commissioner Scales said is factually and patently false. I did not tell the chief of police to stand down, and I would appreciate if elected officials didn't peddle in misinformation. In addition to that, earlier, Chris Woods spoke to the current administration, which is my administration, not giving him business. It's because we had no business to give him, and that's why he's running for mayor.
Mr. Woods, now to you, 45 seconds.
Do I rebuttal or my question?
You can answer the question.
Who am I rebutting, Mayor Woodfin or am I?
No.
This administration has no plan. Absolutely no plan. We have a 7-point crime plan that would encompass dealing with all of this, starting with a cohesive strategy to be on top of what's going on with community policing, having a relationship with the citizens to be on top of what's happening. We would never allow this to happen in the city of Birmingham because we would be proactive in doing so.
All right, Mr. Bell, now 45 seconds to you.
Lisa, you said earlier about the rules, and I've got a problem. We were told that we could not bring any notes. We were told that we could not have our cell phones, but the mayor has an Apple Watch, that he's receiving information through that Apple Watch. It's unfair to the other 3 candidates who are standing here, and I think that needs to be addressed. Birmingham is a civil rights city. We have the right to protest. We don't have the right to destroy property, but we do have the right to protest. I think the question and the answers have not been fully given as to what really happened that night that led to the city of Birmingham being ransacked and many places destroyed.
Next question coming from our guy Rawlings.
Birmingham's restaurant industry suffered a major economic blow during the pandemic. A large number closed, haven't reopened for various reasons. The city created space for outdoor seating to help restaurants coming out of COVID lockdowns. What else can the city do to help restaurants flourish and save jobs?
Commissioner Scales, you can begin. 45 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. Let me say this. When you have a citizen that is basically having their life to be taken away from them in terms of their livelihood because they were involved in that statute, that's very unfortunate because that's a story to be told. As relates to business in Birmingham, there's a young woman that was promised to receive assistance from the city of Birmingham in 5 Points South. Her business is now closed, and it's very unfortunate because though I helped assist her in terms of the sewer portion with her sewer and so forth, you know, the city didn't honor its part. We got to do a better job in making sure that not only in tourism, but that we empower our businesses so that when they are in a crisis, they don't have to rely on just grants and other kind of services. We support our businesses here because we have to.
Mr. Woods, now to you. 45 seconds.
You know, as your mayor, we would make the businesses feel safe. They shouldn't have to go out and hire their own police officers to protect their customers when they coming downtown. They shouldn't have to do that. As the mayor, we would provide them a beat officer and a crew that's available and make our city available and inviting to come down to visit. And the problem we have now, this administration has no plan, and you have businesses that's having to chip in to pay for patrolling off-duty officers to make sure their patronizers are safe by walking them from and to their vehicles in downtown. Under Woods administration, it'll be a different inviting environment because we'll put our people first.
Mayor, would you like a rebuttal?
We started the Birmingham Strong campaign when the pandemic hit. And a part of that effort was to partner with the private sector to offer low-interest loans to our small businesses in this community because we needed to help them float because they only had about 14 to 21 days cash on hand. And we were able to actually save at least 100 employers, as well as thousands of jobs, well before federal money actually came down and assisted our small business community here in Birmingham.
Mr. Bell, now to you. 45 seconds.
One of the biggest challenges that small businesses are having right now is finding employees to come and work in the bars and the restaurants and other retail operations. As mayor, one of the biggest things that I will help do is to recruit employees by setting up a pipeline, working with the Alabama Labor Department and other organizations such as Lawson State to find individuals that are willing to go to work and lead them to those jobs that are out there. The city of Birmingham has to provide that leadership, and as your mayor, I will make sure that everything is done to support our small businesses so that they can thrive and move forward in building a stronger business base.
Mayor Woodfin, now to you. 45 seconds.
Earlier, my character was calling to question around William Bell making a statement about the use of an Apple Watch and using the word cheating. And I think it's important that I respond to that. During the break, I actually took the time to look at my clock. But I welcome I welcome Channel 13 as well as William Bell to look at my cell phone to see if there's anything in there related to notes. The fact that I even have to address that is silly, but what you have again is people hitting below the belt because they want to get back in office. I think it's past time for pettiness, and when we're here at a debate, I think it's important that we lend ourselves to the people to talk about policies and what we want to do or what we've done on behalf of the citizens of Birmingham.
We need to move on to our next question now, and it comes from V94.9's Dana Woodruff. I'm sorry, we need to move on to the next question, Mr. Bell.
Each of the mayoral candidates represents a different generation of citizens that make up the Magic City of Birmingham. Although you are directly connected to your base, how do you plan to include all generations, genders, and races in the growth of Birmingham?
Mr. Woods, we'll start with you. 45 seconds.
You know, Maynard Jackson gave us a blueprint in Atlanta about inclusion. And what the mayor was falsely attacking me on about he had no business to give me. Well, I'm a state licensed general contractor who can open the bid work. And I've been prevented from bidding projects with the city. But what Maynard Jackson did is say, hey, listen, across the board, not only the city, that's why my vision to unite us, the colleges, the other businesses, the county, the private sector, to come in and allow black-owned businesses to participate with inclusion. And Maynard Jackson did that. He stood by it. He was successful, and that's going to be the perfect blueprint under the Woods administration. Not only to make sure that they are trained.
We're out of time. We need to move now to Mr. Bell, 45 seconds.
Lisa, we were told that you could not have a communication device or any notes, and I'll stand by my earlier statement. My administration has always worked to be inclusive of all generations. We started programs such as the Tech Hire program that is now called the Innovate Birmingham program, by which we're training young people to take on the hundreds, if not thousands, of tech jobs that are in our community. We looked after our senior citizens by building senior citizen facilities and funding organizations that support those seniors throughout the community. We created a workforce program whereby we have individuals trained through state programs as well as city programs that will bode them well on getting jobs in our community.
Mayor Woodfin, now to you, 45 seconds.
Thank you. I think you should just check what we've done in my administration as it relates to who works for me. We've diversified City Hall. Half of our actual department heads and deputy department heads are women. Also, people of color are in position of power. In addition to that, ages range from 20s to 60s. And so we have all the generations, minus the youngest generation actually, working at City Hall, representing all the people in our community. And I think it's important when it comes to being an inclusive city that this administration has laid a foundation to be welcoming and everyone should feel involved.
Commissioner Scales, you have 45 seconds now.
Well, diversity and inclusion has to be intentional. When this mayor came into office, the majority of the department heads of the city of Birmingham were African American. If you go up to the city of Birmingham right now, you will notice those have now changed to white individuals and in inclusion with that. Let me say this. When you talk about services as relates to our seniors, the city of Birmingham right now doesn't have one program that they can say that they have funded on behalf of seniors. So when we're talking about the city of Birmingham and how we operate and function, I beg to differ. I recognize that we not only have a lack of diversity, but we also do not have inclusion.
Our next question is coming from V94.9 Think Tank host Chris Coleman.
Hey, in June, the FOP leadership issued a vote of no confidence in Chief Patrick Smith. A number of crime categories have gone down during Chief Smith's tenure. However, the murder rate is up. Is the chief doing enough to tackle supposedly low morale and the spike in homicide numbers?
We'll start now with Mr. Bell. You have 45 seconds.
Chris, if you go back and look at news articles during my administration, you will find out that we instituted a lot of programs that were community-based within our police department to reduce violent crime. Of the 5 previous mayors, and the current mayor included, my administration had the lowest overall violent crime rate of all of those mayors. We had community-based programs. A.C. Roper was an outstanding leader. We participated at the federal level in coming up with the 21st century policing program, and we're going to fully implement that program because it touches bases on every element of reaching out into the community, setting up programs to prevent violent crime in our community. We're going to fund social organizations that will get out there.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bell. We're out of time. We need to move now to Mayor Woodfin. You have 45 seconds.
I want to make this point very clear. The FOP leadership issued a vote of no confidence because they do not like that the chief of police holds their members who violate Birmingham Police Department policies and procedures accountable. One of our core values is accountability. And if you are going to be a sworn officer in the city of Birmingham, how you interact with our citizens, we hold important. And if you violate or breach our policies, the chief of police is not playing with them, and we don't have time to be playing political games with the FOP leadership. We will continue to lead the city. We will continue to invest in the morale of our police officers, but it's important that our officers interact with our citizens the right way.
Commissioner Scales, now to you, 45 seconds.
In 2017, the current mayor basically worked with individuals within the FOP in order to split a vote between he and then Mayor Bell. I don't understand now why the FOP is so sinister when it relates to our police department. Let me say this. Chief Roper and I are church members together. And it's unfortunate that when I spoke to this mayor and asked him if he would keep him on, he told me no. We now have A.C. Roper as the first African-American to be a 3-star general. You address crime starting at the top and making sure that those that we need to protect and serve have every resource available so that we can be able to better fight crime. This is how you do it. Go to scalesbhm2021.com to see my entire plan.
Mr. Woods, now to you, 45 seconds.
This is a reflection of just being out of touch and not having a plan. Birmingham was the second most deadly city last year, is now currently the deadliest city in America, and we have to have unity. We have to have a mayor that will pull the police chief and the police officers together. This is unprecedented, where the FOP, the members, vote a no confidence in their chief, in their boss. And we can't deal with the crime in our city until we unite our department. And as your mayor, we would have a united department and a plan in place to deal with crime.
Mayor Woodfin, would you like a rebuttal?
Yes, to all of my opponents. A lot of them want to go backwards, and all three of them don't have a plan. Vision 2025 lays out a clear, detailed plan on reimagining public safety, where we strike the balance of not only police presence, but also police reform and accountability measures. We've already banned no chokeholds. We've already banned no-knock warrants, and we've created the first civilian review board. Two of my opponents have been around politics a very long time, and they want to tell you what they will do, but one of them is in office and is not doing anything, and the other has been absent for the last 4 years.
We need to move on, otherwise we're going to be stuck on this question for the rest of the evening. Let's move on now to individual questions from our panelists to the candidates. We're going to start with V94.9's Dana Woodruff.
My question is for Commissioner Scales. In 2013, you pled guilty to an ethics violation involving the use of city property for personal gain. You also pled guilty to interfering with a voter inside of a polling place. Honesty and integrity is an important part of assuming public office. How can you assure that the voters that you will have their best interest at heart?
Thank you. Well, first of all, when it came to that ethics case, that's not what I pled to. So let's be clear on that. First of all, what I pled to was unintentional use of public equipment, which was nothing more than a political statement based upon the former mayor thinking that I was going to run for mayor at that time. And in addition to that, you're talking about a violation for talking to a voter. That's like I'm talking to you right now. And that's the reason why 4 felonies were reduced to a violation. Transparency has always been what I do. If you go to any of my social media pages, you will see my work in action. I believe that citizens should have an oversight in terms of what we do and how we do it. Anything less is dishonorable.
Our next question is for Mr. Bell. It comes from Guy Rawlings.
Mr. Bell, the Alabama Ethics Commission found you violated a state ethics law during your campaign in 2017. Specifically, you were accused of encouraging city employees to spread the word about your accomplishments, good works as mayor during their off time. You also allegedly warned they could be out of a job if you weren't reelected. Should the people and city employees trust you to have their best interests at heart?
I think you left out the part where I told the employees that they were not to campaign at all during working hours and that they were to do their jobs. The Ethics Commission ended up giving me a fine because I held the meeting there, not because I violated any laws in terms of directing anybody to do anything. It was the fact that I had the meeting there at City Hall in which I instructed those employees not to campaign on work time. And let me go back to the previous question. The morale is down in the police department because there's a dual standard. You had an officer that was accused of shooting and acting like someone else was shooting at them. They were not disciplined. But then other police officers are given harsh treatment for petty violations. and therefore the morale in the police department has gotten down. We've got to correct that to make sure that everyone is dealt with fairly, straightforward, and honestly.
Our next question is for Mayor Woodfin. It comes from Chris Coleman.
The city had a $63 million revenue shortfall in 2020 due to COVID. In a time of uncertainty with the pandemic, was it a smart decision to pass a $455 million budget, the biggest budget in the city's history? What is your plan to deal with the revenue shortfall this fiscal year due if there were new impacts from COVID?
Thank you, Chris. Before I answer that question, I would like to share that my great-grandmother taught me the importance of when I am wrong, I should admit to it, own up to it, and apologize and accept responsibility. And you've just heard from two of my opponents. One, you don't plead guilty to something that you didn't do. You either did it or didn't do it. And related to Mr. Bell, related to what he did in the office, again, you don't accept a fine if you didn't do anything wrong. And so I think it's important as elected officials, if we do something wrong, own up to it. Related to the budget, it is quite simple. That was a $63 million projected shortfall. We were fortunate to receive federal funding as well as tap into our reserve. Moving forward, we are in a position to actually keep our coffers strong as well as collect new revenues with the city coming back online related to tourism, small businesses, et cetera.
Chris, would you like to ask that question again? Do you feel like you got the answer there?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right, let's move along then. Next question is for Chris Woods, asked by Guy Rawlings.
Mr. Woods, your family has a long legacy of fighting against injustice. And how do you feel your family's history helps prepare you to lead the city of Birmingham?
Wow, just values of hard work, dedication. If we refer to my father, Bishop Woods, he taught us to pray, shared his life stories with us, and just knew without God, nothing was impossible. And in that faith has built character in me that make me know that whatever God's called us to do, we can do it, that nothing is impossible. I see miracles happen in Birmingham just like my father and my uncle saw miracles happen in Birmingham with a rough, tough Bull Connor and his dogs. I'm encouraged because I know with this administration that he is no match for God, regardless of how many lies he tells or whatever deceptive plans he has. I'm confident in knowing my faith in Jesus Christ that I can do all things through him.
We have one last question. It's a quick one, so we're going to give the candidates 15 seconds, only 15 seconds each to respond to this question. It is, the city of Birmingham celebrates its 150th anniversary this December. If elected, what one thing would you do that could usher in a new chapter in the Magic City's history? And we're going to start with Mayor Woodfin.
Yes. We're ushering in the World Games of 2022 during this celebration. And I think this is an opportunity for the first time in the city's history that we look through the lens of how people view us, not just in black and white, not just in race, but moving forward as being a welcoming city in this entire state as well as this country.
Let's move now to Ms. Scales.
Well, first of all, let me say this. You plead guilty basically in short because of the fact that you have a system that needs to be reformed. And I look forward to having that conversation with you as viewers. In addition to that, I believe the city of Birmingham, the way we implement that is to start a reparation that really reaches the homes of people who have been most affected. That's how we're going to change the landscape of a 150-year-old city.
Mr. Woods, now to you.
You know, bringing the city together, like in the 60s, Birmingham became the conscience of the nation. And we got the World Games coming here, and I like to get with the employees to present Birmingham in a light where individuals who's coming to Birmingham won't want to leave Birmingham. And what we'll do, we like to increase the connectivity, really go to be a giga city. We have people coming from all over the world, and I like to see people that sit anywhere in this city, any 99 neighborhoods, and be able to pull out their laptop or their iPhone and get connectivity to do their jobs.
Mr. Bell, now to you, 15 seconds.
It's always amazing to me when people bring up the World Games as if they're the ones that brought the World Games, when in fact I had the vision, the effort to convince the leadership of the World Games to come to Birmingham. They wanted a safe harbor to come to this country to avoid international terrorism. but we have a domestic issue here in Birmingham with the violent crime that exists. And if we're going to celebrate, we've got to get that violent crime under control before we have people coming from around the world to our city so that we can welcome them in safety.
Mr. Bell, I'm sorry, we're running out of time, and I definitely want to get to your closing statements, and that's the part of the debate we are at now. We're going to start with Commissioner Scales.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for this opportunity, and I welcome you to go to my website at scalesbhm2021.com. I am here tonight because I'm holding this mayor accountable. I know that the things that he says, it seems passionate, but when you look at it, it's nothing but more than smoke and mirrors, and we are substituting style for substance. I believe that with the Scales administration, you will find that not only will I work, but I'm looking forward to you and I working together. We have got to get beyond this violent crime. It is rampant in our city. Our educational system needs our support, and our city workers need a job that they feel safe and know that they can be able to make a quality living. I look forward to us talking, and again, go to scalesbhm2021.com. Vote Lashunda Scales Tuesday, August 24th.
Candidate Bell, you have 60 seconds.
Stable, straightforward, honest leadership. That is what William Bell will provide. That's what I provided in the past. I'm not going to blow smoke at people telling them that the pandemic has caused our employees to be laid off. When you didn't have people in Huntsville being laid off, you didn't have people in Montgomery being laid off, you didn't have people in Mobile being laid off. The smoke screen was put up to blame it on COVID, but it was through the mismanagement of the financial resources here in the city of Birmingham that caused the letter to be sent from New York to say, lay those individuals off. I will always stand up for the citizens, I will stand up for the employees, and more importantly, I will stand up to my oath to God to do my best at all times to help people and to move this city forward in a positive direction. I look forward to being able to celebrate the World Games coming here so the rest of the world can see Birmingham, the progress that we've made over the years, and then investments can follow behind. We can do this, but we all got to work together.
Mr. Woods, we have to go to you.
Bell.
We're getting
Thank
close on time here, so you have 1 minute.
Birmingham, every 4 years, we have the opportunity to grade our elected officials. Let's review the facts. Last year, Birmingham hit a 25 high homicide rate, where the FBI declared Birmingham as the second most deadly city in America. Here in 2021, we are outpacing that. We are now the #1 deadliest city in America. Also, Mayor Woodfin was president of the school board when the state took over the school board, not once, but twice. Birmingham, and now, it's not the largest city in the state of Alabama. Birmingham, this tragic journey must come to an end. I'm a builder. My company, C.W. Woods Contracting Services, was in the top 100 twice. I am qualified to pave roads. I'm qualified to see to it that this community is rebuilt, all 99 neighborhoods. And I will work with the city employees, and they must be treated with dignity.
Mr. Woods, I'm sorry, we're out of time. We need to move now to Mayor Woodfin for closing statements. You have 1 minute.
Again, thank you for this opportunity tonight. To be clear, this is Mr. Bell's 8th time running for mayor of the city of Birmingham. And in the last 4 years, this is Ms. Scales' 3rd office she's seeking election for. And Chris Woods has run for mayor at least 3 times. And when these people are not in office, you don't see them, you don't hear from them. And when the ones are in office, they do more talking than actually working on behalf of the citizens of Birmingham. 4 years ago, I told you that we deserve better. And 4 years ago, I said that I would make investments in all 99 neighborhoods. And we've done that. But there is more work to do. And so I ask that you stick with me and vote for me August 24th. Please get involved at randallwoodfin.com so you can learn more about Vision 2025, because this is not necessarily about going backwards, but about the future of the city of Birmingham and the citizens we serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're out of time. I appreciate you all being here with us tonight. Don't forget, the election is August 24th. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great night.